Hi everyone, my name is Scott. Welcome to the channel. I recently watched Krzysztof Kieślowski's Three Colors trilogy. Let's talk about them. Kieślowski's Three Colors trilogy is a series of films that he put out in 1993 and 1994. The first film, Blue, and the last film, Red, are in French, and the middle film, White, has some French in it, but it's mostly in Polish. The three colors are the three colors of the French flag, and the movies are loosely themed after the motto of the French Republic: liberty, equality, and fraternity. And the first film is... Blue stars Juliette Binoche as the wife of a famous composer. And as the film begins, Juliette Binoche with her husband and their child are driving in a car, something breaks in the car, they hit a tree, and her husband and child are killed in the accident. She reacts to this poorly. The manifestation of the emotional impact of the crash is that Juliette Binoche's character tries to withdraw from society. She sells everything in their house, she moves to a different city. She largely just tries to stay away from people, destroying everything from the past, save a blue chandelier from their old house. There's this undercurrent of suspicion that while her husband was alive, Juliette Binoche's character actually wrote all of his symphonies for him. And those suspicions, along with other parts of her past life, keep drawing her back into society. She learns things about her past life that keeps bringing her back to the world, and that isolation becomes harder and harder to sustain. Of the three films, Blue is the most symbolic of the three, in that symbolism does a majority of the heavy lifting as far as storytelling is concerned, as well as Kieślowski's use of pictures and audio and how those two interplay to bring forth story elements. More than the other two, this film makes the audience do most of the mental heavy lifting. There's a lot of symbols and scenes, and the film doesn't always lay it out for you. There's a lot of different rabbit holes you can go down mentally to tell different aspects of the story. You have to do a lot of that work in your own mind as an audience member, but once you get there, you realize how deep this movie is. It's the hardest for the viewer, but it's also the most fulfilling. White is the only movie that I had seen previously going into this rewatch. I saw it in college, and I think they showed it to us for a reason I'll get to in a moment. But first, White stars a Polish actor whose name I'm not even gonna try to pronounce. I'll just butcher it. He plays Carol. Guy so nice they named him twice. And as we meet him, he is being divorced by his wife. He's a bit of a pushover, and he loses everything in the divorce. So much so that he's living on the street now. And the movie is about this guy getting his life back together and rebuilding himself. For motivations I won't mention here, but are in the movie, obviously. White is the most user accessible of the three films. It's the most commercial. It's the most you don't have to do any heavy lifting in your own head after it's over. But because of this, it's the weakest of the three films. That's not to say it's a bad movie. It's very entertaining. The acting in all three of these films the actors are amazing. But this film does not have the depth that Blue does, or Red. This is a movie you can sit down, be entertained by, and forget almost completely after it's over. It doesn't have the staying power of the other two. Red is the third film in this trilogy. It stars Irene Jacob as a model. She's a little in her own world, and driving home one night, she accidentally hits a dog. She doesn't kill the dog, but the dog is hurt, so she tries to hunt down the owner of said animal. And who she meets is a man who's pretty apathetic to the health of the dog, but that's because he's kind of caught up in a world of his own making. He has created and maintains a way to spy on his neighbors. He's a voyeur. So on one hand, we have a model who's stuck in this world of focusing on herself, and on the other hand, we have this man who is just obsessed with others. They challenge each other on the notion of what is right and who our focus should be on. Red takes the best story beats of blue, mixes it with the commercial aspect of white, and makes a movie that is the best of the series. Every moment of this movie is riveting. It's mostly just a conversation between these two people, but it's riveting because they challenge the notion of what is right. And you get to see both characters change and evolve as the story goes on. And all three of these films each use the title, the color in their title, as elements in the visual style of the film, but red is the most striking. It looks the best of the three films. And what can be a kind of dark and dreary backdrop, the color red really pops in this movie. Red makes you do some heavy lifting as a viewer, but not as much as blue does. This is a little bit more accessible as a film, but it still makes you think a little bit more than your average movie. And it's great. This is going to be a dumb ranking because you already know based on what I've said. Red, blue, white, it's pretty straightforward. I feel like I'm talking a lot with my hands in this episode. Thanks for watching, you guys. We'll see you next time.